Omar is on my left-hand side. He's a senior transaction advisor and head of the SAP Project Advisory Unit, Southern Africa Power Pool, SAP. And over to you, Omar.
Thanks, Karin. Just a quick introduction to the Southern African Power Pool. It is the leading power pool in Africa. We have 17 members, 12 national utilities, 5 private sector or pseudo-private sector type utilities that are all members of SAP. It has a fully functioning competitive market that's been very successful in the past 5 to 7 years, and it's growing substantially. In the pool, in the regional context, we focus mainly on interconnectors and regional projects that have impact on the wider SADC community. In the project advisory unit, we've concentrated on about 9 or 10 projects where we think we can structure them, as my colleague was just saying earlier, where we endeavoring to structure it in a way that we can attract capital. And one of our mandates, we are funded by a lot of grant funding. One of our mandates is to attract private sector funding into these large-scale regional projects. And from just coming back to the topic at hand, I think we've had a mixed experience, I'd say, in the SAP context for these projects. There's projects that have been going on for 10 to 15 years where the private sector has been welcomed, and they've attempted to structure these projects, and it still hasn't closed. And whilst we're waiting for these structures to materialize, there's constraints on the networks. We lost a lot of economic benefit in the region. There was droughts, and the region could have benefited from these infrastructure projects. So we've actually gone back to the drawing board ourselves, looking at what's best, what's the fastest way that we can put these projects in the ground. And one of the things we're going back towards is trying to move towards more public sector type funding structures. And I say that in knowing that it's a sensitive point, and the reason why it's faster is because of the availability of funding for regional projects at the moment. And if you look at what drives these things, if you look at if the private sector had understood the market environment of SAP, could take the market risk within SAP, if they are comfortable with the cash flows that come out of the competitive market, we could pursue that further. However, this hasn't happened, and we're now looking at seeing how best we can do it in the public sector side of the transactions. So I think for me, there's a certain understanding that maybe we need to share with our private sector colleagues in terms of how the region operates and how we structure these deals. Maybe there's not sufficient knowledge out there in terms of what we're doing in the region, and there's some really good work going on across the region. I'll also leave it there for now.
Thank you, Omar. I think again, communication, structuring. I think it's incredibly important that all of us understand that there's not a lot of governments with a fiscus that can take these type of projects anymore. I mean, even in South Africa, we are at our limits, and we would like to contain any further we would like to contain our exposure as far as our balance sheet is concerned. And therefore, again, it's important for us when we do these type of projects that we communicate to the private sector what we want to do, how we want to do it, and listen to them so that we understand their fears and their concerns.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.